Well, hey folks, good day to you, good to see you, good to be seen by you, and what can I say? It's a day that ends in a Y, so we've got some Wizards of the Coast news for you. But before we begin, of course, I want to remind you all that this video is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures that they'd like to play, whether it's for Castles and Crusades, 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, or the OSR. Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde Games, so please check them out. And if you haven't already, give this video a like. Please click the subscribe button. Please click the bell icon for notifications if you like this kind of content and want to be notified about more of it. So let's get into exactly what that content is. So this actually came up on Twitter. I hadn't seen this as news yet, but I felt like I would be remiss if I didn't bring it to you guys, and I think it does kind of speak to RPGs in general, not just new Dungeons and Dragons. So let's go ahead and get right into it and take a look. This comes to us from user GM Ben over on Twitter, and Ben says, "We have confirmation that AI was used on several images in the Bigby Presents book." Now, of course, most of you out there who are fans of the show and fans of the Old School will know that Bigby is an iconic character in early Dungeons & Dragons history that was created by Gary Gygax, of course. Ever regenerating as they are, Wizards of the Coast has reimagined Bigby as a gnome and has released yet another source book using the Bigby name. So let's get into it. I am extremely disappointed that Wizards would print AI art and pay the creator like a real artist. And this original post, now this was taken down, so of course GM Ben, big props to you, got a screenshot of it. Let's take a look at the screenshot, and it says, this is from the artist, Ilya Shkipin, I hope I got that right. There's recent controversy on whether these illustrations I made were AI generated. AI was used in the process to generate certain details or polish and editing. To shine some light on the process, I'm attaching earlier versions of the illustrations before AI had been applied to enhance details. As you can see, a lot of painted elements were enhanced with AI rather than generated from the ground up. Now, I'm just going to speak to my own personal taste. I don't think that's particularly great art. I mean, I think there's a lot of art in 5th edition and 4th edition and 3rd edition and 2nd edition that is quite nice. My heart, of course, goes with original D&D, basic D&D, and 1st edition advanced Dungeons & Dragons and the various supplements when it comes to the art. But this just isn't getting it. I mean, we have presumably a frost giant here who has a tiny human-sized head on her big giant body there. And then, unfortunately, again, there are no additional images. But yeah, so they basically went through and doctored up a bunch of stuff with AI. So that is the link there from DM Ben, and we appreciate that. I'm sorry, GM Ben, that's Never Not on Twitter. Now, having looked at the thread and having looked at some of the pictures under it, I can tell you that, and this is just my 2 cents, I'm not really of the opinion that there wasn't more done to it than just touching up. I definitely think there was more done to it than just touching up, but that's just my 2 cents. Now, it's interesting because I did a video earlier, which I will link to below, about how Roll20 is going to disallow AI-generated art content and writing content. And Roll20, of course, is a huge outlet, as is DrivethruRPG, who are following in the same steps. In fact, if you go to D&D Beyond on Twitter, on Wizards of the Coast website, even to download a classic module, it all goes through a DrivethruRPG-like interface. So this is kind of an interesting turn, and a video that we'll release in a little while talks about how Wizards of the Coast is actually going to be embracing more and more AI, as they talked about during the whole blow up with OGL 1.2 and all that nonsense earlier on. As part of their new digital strategy, Wizards of the Coast is fully embracing AI. So I'm sure this type of thing is A-okay with them. But how's it going to sit with two major outlets of Wizards of the Coast product, Roll20 and DrivethruRPG? Now, I'm sure Wizards, of course, probably wants to go to their own walled garden, rather like Apple. So you're not going over here to get a source book and over here to play on a virtual tabletop. You're locked in and just pouring your money into them. So this is almost certainly the first of many shots that will be fired. I just find it rather interesting that they did this and didn't say a word about it until this artist was called on the carpet. But of course, I want to know what you guys think, so please leave a comment down below. And again, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications on standalone videos like this, live streams with guests, including classic artists like Tracy Lesh, Errol Otis, Diesel LaForce, all of whom have come out very strongly against using AI to wholly generate pieces of art. But of course, until then, just remember, the computer is not your friend, and you don't have to take anything from a machine. Peace.